Hi there guys, and welcome to another episode of the Cover Zero Show with me, your host Simon Conboy. We're carrying on with the season preview series today, and this episode we will be focusing on the Buffalo Bills. Now, for those of you who haven't seen one of these episodes before, what I'll be doing is going through the offensive and defensive starters that I'm projecting. If the team would play a game tomorrow, this is how I think they'd line up. Of course, with training camp just around the corner in pre-season, this could be liable to some change, especially at positions where there are expected to be battles. But as I say, tomorrow, this is how I think they'd line up. I'll then be going through the schedules very loosely, highlighting what I think are the key aspects of it, and giving my projected record for the team for the upcoming season. And I will then be giving my 3 X factors. If the Bills are to end I guess it's been this entire millennium, the drought of not making the playoffs, these are the things that are going to have to go right for them. So we'll hop right into the offensive starters. At quarterback, of course, the great enigma and the quarterback that I have the toughest time, I think, really coming to a solid conclusion as to what he is, and that's Tyrod Taylor. He's done an incredible job of protecting the football in his time in Buffalo. He throws a really pretty deep pass, and he's a very effective scrambler. But the core aspects of quarterback play just don't seem to be there. It appears to me that he struggles to make reads, especially in the middle of the field. I'm not sure he's got a great grasp of what defenses are doing, and he can be very streaky as a result, whether that's him or the receivers. That's also been hard to tell in his tenure there. But he's certainly the best option they've got, and I'm very intrigued to see how things pan out for him this year. At running back, LaShawn McCoy, who has somehow been flying under the radar in his time in Buffalo. He's been as good as ever in his time there. Fantastic player, one of the best running backs in football. And Jonathan Williams will be his backup. I think that's going to be a solid pairing, especially if Shady can stay healthy. Wide receiver's a bit of a question mark. It looks like an okay group on paper. Sammy Watkins will be the number one. He just needs to stay healthy. When he's been healthy, he has been an effective player, and I still believe in the kid's talent. Zay Jones, the rookie, I believe he'll end up getting the start on the outside. Maybe not immediately, but over the course of the season, I think he's an upgrade over what they've had opposite Sammy Watkins. And Andre Holmes coming over from the Raiders. I think Jones and Holmes will move about a bit. In fact, all 3 of these guys will probably play across the formation. It's got the potential to be the best group that Taylor's worked with, but you do have 2 guys learning a scheme, so we'll see how that works out. But I've got some confidence in this group. There's quite a lot of speed there as well, which helps because Taylor does throw a very good deep ball. Got Charles Clay playing over the middle, which has been an issue because, as I've said, that's not what Tyrod Taylor's been doing particularly well. But he can block, and he can be an effective receiver when he's utilised. So I think he's a plus for them. On the offensive line, I feel very good about the left-hand side. The right-hand side, not so much. So Cordy Glenn is a rock-solid left tackle. Good in both phases. Maybe not quite one of the top guys, but player any team would be more than happy to have. Dion Dawkins, the rookie, I think he'll end up getting the start on the right side. It's not inconceivable he'll play at right guard. As I say, both of those spots somewhat open, I think, but I suspect tackle ends up being the spot he ends up in. At guard on the left side, Richie Incognito, who has been stellar since getting to Buffalo. Always been a great run blocker. His pass protection seems to have improved as well as he's continued his NFL career. And John Miller on the right side, who I'm not particularly familiar with. At centre, Eric Wood. He's a very good pass protector. Not the best, most physical run blocker, but I believe he's a great assignment guy. He gets these guys in the right position, particularly with run blocking. So he is another plus player. And the kicker, Stephen Hauschka, formerly of the Seahawks. So this group, it feels like it'll go as far as Tyrod can take them, because frankly, LaShawn McCoy's been, he's been doing his job the last couple of years, other than missing the odd game of injury, but he's been stellar. Sammy Watkins is of course going to be huge for them if he can stay healthy for the vast majority of the season. If he maybe misses 1 or 2 games, I think you can consider that acceptable, but he has to stay healthy for this team to really offer too much threat. As I say, Andre Holmes in his first year with the team, Zay Jones a rookie. They're really going to be relying on him this year. If everything comes together, I like the talent on this team. I think they're solid on the offensive line. Not the right-hand side, a little bit of an issue perhaps, but the left-hand side's good. They're going to have a run game. It just comes down to Tyrod Taylor, and I think it's fair on him. His performance has definitely warranted this year being sort of another look at what he does. And he's just got to improve all those basic elements of quarterback play, because the physical skill set and talent are definitely there. And if he goes well and this receiving group can pull it together, I think this group is going to be a lot better than people think. If not, I think we'll probably be looking at something very similar to last year, a very stop-start pass game and a stellar run game, which just probably is not going to be good enough to get the job done. Moving on to the defensive side of the ball, this team's going back to a 4-3, which I think is a good move because, frankly, the personnel on this roster, Rex Ryan never really quite got it where he needed it to be to run his scheme perfectly. I think it's one of the reasons why Stephon Gilmore didn't make a huge effort to re-sign him. They're going to go with some zone guys. The defensive line really is where this makes a difference. They're better suited to that for sure. We'll see at defensive end, Jerry Hughes and Shaq Lawson. Be certainly fascinating to see what Lawson can do after missing so much time last season. This is basically his rookie season. Jerry Hughes is a very, very good pass rusher off the edge, traditional speed rusher. Does that very well. Maybe not the greatest run player, but some teams are willing to make that sacrifice at the position. Defensive tackle, one of the better pairings in the league, Marcel Darius, who's underachieved a little in the last couple of years, but I think the move back to the 4-3 will help him, especially in terms of the amount of pass rush he can generate. And Carl Williams, who's been such a great player for such a long time, he's definitely reaching the end. You'd think he's not quite what he was 2 or 3 years ago when he was one of the best players in the league at the position, but still a fantastic player. His experience, he plays very smart, does a good job against the run, and he'll still generate some pass rush there. He's tough to single block. At outside backer, Lorenzo Alexander and Gerald Hodges, the guys I've got getting the nod. I think that's because I just see them going with some experience. They're going to have the rookie, essentially much like Shaq Lawson, the guy missed the entire rookie season, so essentially the rookie campaign, in Reggie Ragland in the middle. I think having two experienced guys like Hodges, who's been a pretty good player for San Fran for a while, and Alexander had a very productive year last year. It'll be interesting to see what these two can do. I'm not so much interested, but I think that they'll be there for that experience role. I don't think either one of them is great in coverage, and Ragland, that's where I think it'll be interesting to see his transition. I've got no doubt he'll be an asset in the run game. He is a read it, run and hit it kind of player. It's just how quickly he can adapt to possibly calling plays. I expect he'll be doing so as the middle backer, of course, and playing pass coverage at an NFL level. Corner, Ronald Darby, who's had a great rookie season, wasn't quite as good last year, but you could say that about the vast majority of the Bills secondary. But he'll be the number one. I do think Tre'Davious White gets the start. I loved that pick, trading back to go get him. I think that was a very savvy move from this team. I think he'll be a very good player in the future, even if that might not be the case this year. And Leonard Johnson, he's been a bit of a journeyman, formerly of the Buccaneers and Panthers, but I think he can play that nickel role pretty well for them. And at safety, Mike Hyde, one of my favourite signings of the off-season. His versatility to play all across the secondary is going to be a big asset to this team, and I think we'll get Jordan Poyer in the other spot, and I'll be using this year to evaluate him personally. Punter, we've got Colton Schmidt, and this defence, I really like that defensive line. Darius needs to, I think, come back to the level we saw from him a couple of years ago when he looked like he was a truly ascending player. He's not quite reached those heights again. The scheme change, I do not think benefited him at all. We may see a return to the dominant play we did with this new scheme. A lot of a lot will come from what Ragland and Lawson can add. Bear in mind this was a first and a second rounder that they're getting back. They didn't have last year. They could potentially give this team a real boost. It's especially if Lawson's good, then this front four is stellar. And if Ragland can step in and play really well, they end up having playmakers at every level on defense. So they could end up surprising. Much like the offense, this team does have some talent and could catch a lot of people off. What I worry about is depth and also, new schemes. So I think it could end up being a bit of a slow start. May end up costing them. Now, in terms of last year, this team finished 7-9, which just feels par for the course for the Tyrod Taylor Bills at this point, a middling kind of team. This year, my projected record for them is 6-10 because I just think things are not going to come together. And when I look at this schedule, the early part of it is the essential bit. The end of the season is absolutely brutal. I'm expecting the Dolphins to be good. They got them twice in the last 3 weeks. Dolphins away, Patriots away to end the season. They've got before that, the Dolphins, the Colts, the Pats again, a game at Arrowhead and a game against the Chargers in LA and a game against the Saints. None of those are going to be easy. Some powerful offenses there, some good defense, and just some teams that on paper are probably going to be favoured against this team. So they're going to have to start quickly. They've got the potential to do so. The Jets week 1, the Panthers in week 2 and the Broncos in week 3. Whilst I think the Broncos are probably a better overall team, I don't know if they match up well against this Bills team because the Bills run the ball really well over the last couple of seasons and they've got a very good defensive front. So I think all 3 of those are winnable before they meet the Falcons. If the Bills are going to have a successful season, those 3 games, to me, they have to be wins because things get difficult. It's not an easy schedule for the AFC East teams this year. The NFC South is wildly unpredictable, but those teams all have quarterbacks and can all play some offense. And the AFC West is tough. So I think it's going to be a tough one for the Bills. I think they'll be better than they were last year. I'm not sure it's going to show in the record, unfortunately. Now, if they are to make that push and get to the playoffs, there's going to be 3 key areas for me that will have to work out. First off, the passing game. This is obviously a bit of a generalisation. Every team you could say this about. But I'm referring specifically to Tyrod and his ability to read the middle of the field and get better protection mainly from the right-hand side. The pass protection there was not particularly good last year. Taylor needs to speed everything up. Everything he does is just a little bit slow and indecisive looking to me. If he gets there, if he can get the mental aspects down, I'm convinced he can be a great player for them. And the receivers just need to offer some consistency, which they absolutely didn't last year. The defensive line, I think it's got to carry this defensive unit. There's not much stability across the rest. There's a fair bit of change. It's a new scheme. But 3 of these 4 defensive players have been together for a long time now. They've all played at high level there in Buffalo. The production has to be there to demonstrate that. And if so, I think this unit, again, could be quite good. They do have some playmakers behind them. And mainly LaShawn McCoy, he's going to have a monstrous season. Now, he's been fantastic ever since he got to Buffalo. Not, of course, before then. But he's going to have to continue to do so. I think he's going to need to be a big part of the passing game, particularly early in the season, whilst Zay Jones and Andre Holmes get comfortable and Tyrod Taylor gets comfortable with them. He's going to have a monster year. I'm talking like 2,200 kind of yards from scrimmage over the course of season, like 1,500 rushing sort of year. If he can do that, then and then the rest of this team can come together. Then who knows? I do like this Bills team, but I just think this year might be a year too early with the schedule, the new schemes. It might be a bit too much. So there you have it. Those are my thoughts on your 2017 Buffalo Bills. As always, let me know what you guys think, whether it's in the comment section below here on Facebook or on Facebook at Cover Zero. Find me on Twitter at Simon Conboy. Always happy to talk football and respond to you guys. Just have a good chat. Let me know whether you agree, disagree with my proclamations about this team, any players you're particularly excited to see for the Bills this year. I know a lot of people are excited to see Zay Jones. And yeah, if you've enjoyed it, like, share, subscribe, check out the Patreon, all that good stuff. It's thoroughly appreciated. Going through every team in the NFL with these reviews, got 12 up already. If you could check some of those out, that'd be grand. And as always, it's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you so much for your time. Have a great evening, and go Bucks.